Without a doubt, the Nissan Silvia is one of the most legendary Japanese vehicles of the 90s. With amazing weight distribution, a lightweight chassis, and incredible, unlimited aftermarket tuning potential, the Nissan Silvia was and continues to be one of the most popular tuner cars on the scene. The three most popular generations of the Nissan Silvia were the S13, which was sold as a coupe, a fastback, and a convertible, the S14, and the S15 generations. But wait, hold up, wasn't the S14 actually sold in two variants? That's right, y'all. Get ready to pay your drift tax, guys, because today we're taking a look at the two variants of one of my favorite vehicles of all time, the legendary, the iconic, the Nissan S14 Silvia. Let's do this, guys. Following the S13 Silvia's end of production in 1994, the S14 Silvia had a lot to live up to. The S14 Silvia, just like its older brother, was sold in Europe under the name 200SX and was sold in Canada and America under the name 240SX. In Japan, the lower J's and Q's trim level got a naturally aspirated 160 horsepower SR20DE, while the upper K's trim level got a turbocharged 220 horsepower SR20DET. That's right, because T is for turbo. The upper K's trim level also got all sorts of goodies like a variable cam timing, standard alloy wheels, and even came standard with a limited slip differential. That's pretty impressive, even by today's standards. And this was 25 years ago, man. See, this is why I love Nissan. In Europe, all 200 SXs got the turbocharged SR20 DET. The SR20 was a 2-liter, 4-cylinder, robust engine that could pack a serious punch and was synonymous with the Nissan Silvia's legacy. Unfortunately for us Canadians and Americans, we were not so lucky. Instead of being blessed with the legendary SR20, us North Americans were stuck with the KA24DE, a 4-cylinder, 2.4-liter engine that had no turbocharger and only made a measly 155 horsepower. Come on, why is it we never get any of the fun stuff up here? Trim levels for the North American 240SX were a base model and a sportier SE trim, which included 16-inch alloy wheels, a wing, and AC to keep you cool during those sweltering hot canyon drives. The S14 clocked in at around 1,250 kilograms, with a wheelbase of 250 centimeters, a length of 450 centimeters, and a width of 170 centimeters. The S14 could be had with a 4-speed automatic, but true legends opted for the sportier 5-speed manual transmission. Today, the S14 is referred to as the Zenki. In Japanese, Zenki translates to early period or early generation. Wait, hold up. Early generation? That's right, y'all. The S14 Silvia was about to evolve. And then, in 1996, it happened. The S14 Silvia hit puberty and went from looking like an oversized blobfish to a sleek, aerodynamic fighter jet. Enter the S14 Kouki, or as I like to call it, the Kouki.
C is for Kouki, that's good enough for me. C is for Kouki, that's good enough for me.
The newly designed, facelifted Kouki lost all the Zenki's baby fat and instead got a much more aggressive hood, bumper, and wait, why am I talking about a Civic? The newly designed Kouki got a much more aggressive front fascia with a sleeker hood, front bumper, and fenders, tinted rear taillights, and sharper headlights that made it look like it was about to hunt you down. The Kouki also got an updated center console and a more modern ball-bearing turbo. And guess what? The North American 240SX was still stuck with the KA24. Come on, Nissan, don't do us like that. You gotta give us some of the good stuff, man. As a tuner car, both the Zenki and Kouki are extremely versatile. These things are used for drag racing, track racing, stance builds, and autocross. But with its long wheelbase, rear-wheel drive, near-perfect weight distribution, and mechanical simplicity, the Nissan Silvia, or 240SX, is the perfect candidate for going sideways. Even today, the S13, S14, and S15 are some of the most popular cars for drifting. The S14 responds incredibly well to modifications. North American 240SX owners either often swap in a turbo kit that goes wah, or they just swap out the underpowered KA24 for a more powerful turbocharged SR20 DET. As I mentioned before, the SR20 is a legendary motor. That thing can pack a serious punch, but it isn't invincible. It's good for around 350 to 400 horsepower, but after that, it can start to experience some nasty issues. So most people looking for more power often swap out to Nissan's beefier motor, the RB25 or an RB26, a Toyota 2JZ, or even a Chevrolet LS V8. In terms of styling, the S14 Kouki, with its much more aggressive look, is generally preferred than the tamer looking S14 Zenki. But if you live in North America, you may have noticed that in the car community, Koukis are pretty rare. Well, to understand why this is, we need to take a look at the disease which plagues all AE86s and Nissan Silvias, the drift tax. You may think that an S14 Generation 240SX would cost maybe $3,000 to $4,000, but because the 240SX is such a legendary drift car, you'd be hard pressed to find one for under 9 to 10 grand. You can get a 350Z for that kind of money, a car which has 130 more horsepower, and that's just the Zenki. Considering less than 7,000 Koukis were sold in the US, most Koukis go for 20 to 25 grand. This isn't some classic Mustang. This is a 25-year-old Nissan Sports Coupe. 25 grand. That is just insane, man. Because the 240SX is so overhyped, the price of these cars just doesn't match their value. So what can you do if you want an S14 240SX? Well, if you can put up with the milder looks, then you might want to go with the cheaper Zenki. Hey, it doesn't look that bad. Drop the ride height with some coilovers, and slap on some wider wheels and fenders, and you got yourself a pretty decent looking drift car. And hey, Amelia Hartford has one, Danger Dan from Hoonigan has one, even Kenta from Initial D has one. If it's good enough for them, then it's probably good enough for you and I. But what if you want the aesthetic of the aggressive Kouki, but you don't want to pay them big bucks? Well, there's a couple options that you can go with. Your first option is to buy an old, abandoned Kouki and then restore it to a decent condition. That way, you can pick one up for pretty cheap. Unfortunately, buying a car that's been lying around for 10, 15 years, who knows what could be living in there. So if you're afraid to deal with dead rats and spiders, then this might not be the best option for you. Your second option is to swap the front end of a Kouki onto a cheaper Zenki. Because the Zenki and Kouki are mechanically very similar, you can easily swap on the hood, front bumper, lights, and fenders from a Kouki over to a Zenki with very little custom work needed. This is the most popular option that most people go with. But what about for the future? I truly hope this doesn't happen, but as prices of 240SXs continue to rise, even the Zenki might start going for 25-30 grand in the near future. So what can we do then? In Canada, you can legally import a JDM S14 Kouki from Japan over to here, and you'll be able to do the same in America in just 2 years. Now, you guys might say I'm crazy, but as prices of 240SXs continue to rise, I think that in the near future, it'll actually become cheaper to import a JDM S14 Kouki from Japan with the SR20 motor rather than to buy a 240SX Kouki. I know it sounds crazy, but hey, if a 25-year-old 240SX can go for 30 grand, hey, anything can happen. So that wraps up this video. Thank y'all for watching, and if you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like or subscribing to my channel. In the next video, I'll be reviewing the new 400Z prototype, but I gotta admit, that thing looks beautiful. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching, stay safe, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace!